Tara Lynn with 5 Acres Honey Farm, and I apologize for any background noise, but the chickens are taking advantage of this weather and free ranging around here. I wanted to share with you a few different pollinator plants, some that I have grown, some varieties that I have grown, but then there's like different kinds of those varieties that I'm going to try out next year that I'm really glad both to have as an attraction of beneficial pollinators in the garden, but also as forage for the honeybees. And one of them that I've really enjoyed growing is Calendula. And this past year I grew the Resina, Pacific Beauty, and Strawberry Blonde Calendula varieties. And they do really well. I've used them in teas, and I know you can also use them in some body care as well. But they're just simple to grow. They attract all different types of pollinators. I've seen the honeybees on them as well as some native pollinators. And so one that I'm gonna try next year is called Balls Improved. And it's supposed to have like double the size flowers, about 3 inches, and they're really deep orange color. So part of what I like to do as I select flowering plants for both in the garden and around our property is to look for a variety of colors so that it attracts different pollinators. So those will hopefully be some more delicious tea. And a very common flower that I've grown before is a marigold. And this past year I grew a Collosus Red-Gold Bicolor, and I really liked how it had like the variegation in the petals. And I know that you can use these for eating, and I intended to. I just never got around to it. And kind of along the lines of the same color, it looks like I've got a pattern here, is this Marigold Orange Flame. This one is going to be new for me next year, and I really liked what I saw with the orange colors here. I guess I'm just really attracted to that right now. And also, from what I read, it is a French variety, which I'm not sure if all marigolds are, but I have this thing where I love Paris and France, so if something's French, I'm usually very interested in it. And you know, both of these will help attract beneficial insects in the garden and serve as some forage for the bees. So the other flowers that I grew this past year, actually the past 2 years, are Peruvian Yellow Zinnia. These are like really simple to grow. And also, actually that was the only zinnia that I've grown. So I'm gonna correct myself. I haven't grown any others, and they're just a really basic yellow zinnia. But again, they were really easy, and I wanted to just have some extra color and flowers in the garden. But what I really like, and hopefully this will show well here, is this Mazurkia zinnia. And I just like how it has like this double floral thing happening, where it's got these extra florets surrounding the center head of the zinnia. And I love how the tips of them kind of turn into like a blush pink at the very ends. So so I'm kind of just looking forward to the intricacy of this as it blooms. And then this is a red Russian Emigres zinnia, and my husband is from Russia, so if I see any kind of like Russian varieties, which I did add some, a melon that's from Russia, and there's something else that was from Russia too, I forget. But this zinnia I specifically got, it was an heirloom, and it says it's from the Moscow branch of the Vavilov Institute, and so my husband was born in Moscow, so just for that value is why I got it. And I haven't tried growing coneflower from seed before, and I did buy 2 coneflower seedlings last year that I added to the garden, knowing that they are going to be perennial and they'll be just taking up that same space every year. So I'm going to try, and I thought this was really cool looking. It's a green twister coneflower, and I think it'll just be another cool flower just to look at for my own personal amusement. But the color scheme of this is really different than anything else that I'm growing here, so I think that'll help attract some different pollinators. So the other variety that I'm growing, which I haven't ever grown before, is a Rudbeckia. So I don't have a photo here to share because I haven't grown it, and there isn't one on the packet. But this is Cherokee Sunset Rudbeckia, and Rudbeckia looks, and I think some varieties of them are called Black-Eyed Susan, but it just looks like this beautiful, happy wildflower, and I would like to establish those around. So I'm hoping if I can get a few going, I can see what kind of effort is involved with keeping them going. Then this one, okay. Yeah, so this is number 5. So this is Honeywort. And of course, when I saw honey in the name, I was really intrigued by it. And this is allegedly, this is from Baker Creek, a recently rediscovered ancient flower that was grown in European gardens. And similar to borage, which I am actually, I'm wondering where I put that. That can be a bonus one. Let me see if I can find it. But borage I grew last year for the first time, and it allegedly replaces its nectar every 15 seconds, and it has a blue flower. And because of that quality, it's a really great plant to add to your apiary or to your pollinator garden if you're not a beekeeper and you just like to have some forage for pollinators. Back to this honeywort, it's apparently along the same lines where it replenishes its nectar fairly often. I'm not sure how often, but it's supposed to attract some pollinators very frequently. And I figured it would be cool to do, cool to add to some containers so that I can get a closer look at, how it's growing. And I believe it's edible. I have to double check. But honeywort. Okay, the bonus borage. So this is kind of a good illustration of what borage looks like, and I'll see if I can insert a picture of some borage that I grew. And it pretty much self-sowed a bit in the garden last year, and I noticed that, growing it in the garden, that by mid-July here in Zone 7B in North Carolina, that with the heat and the rain, the stems, some of the plants grew over 6 feet tall, the stems split and the plants then died. But because they reseeded, they pretty much grew, and the next generation wasn't as vigorous. I don't think it had the right conditions with the heat to grow as robust as it had. So I feel like I want to be more proactive with succession planting the borage, because it really, all the honeybees were all over it all summer, plus bumblebees and others too. So by succession planting it, I'll continue to plant, the blue flowered variety, but then this is a rare white flowered borage, and it's, borage itself, it can be used for teas and body care, and it has a history being used in candies because it is a really sweet nectar. And this is from what I actually heard at a conference, at a beekeeping session where they were referencing pollinator plants for honeybees, is that this plant will replenish its nectar every 15 to 20 seconds. So it's a great workhorse for your garden to help give the bees nectar, maybe at a time when, like in the summer, because it, that they pretty much mature and flower late spring to summer here, based on when I planted it. And around that time is when we have a nectar dearth here in the Piedmont area of North Carolina. So this is a good option for them to have some food around. So these are the different flowers that I will be trying out next year, and curious if there are any tips on growing some of these, or if you have some of your own that are tried and true, or maybe that you're curious about, and I would love to learn about them. Thanks for watching.